This episode of Bouts Talking Bouts is brought to you by Bare Knuckle Betting Shark. Winning parlays, if you're looking for them in BKFC, you got to be checking out BK Bet Shark. Here's the thing, $50 buys, you get a personalized bet slip. It's based on your own budget. You can be flexible. It is what works for you. And this guy's got the receipts. You can check out all the winning tickets. You can peep them, and you can do so at Bare Knuckle Betting Shark. Check him out on Instagram and get with it. Got them personalized betting slips going on, $50 buys. All right, on this episode of Bare Knuckle Radio, very excited to be talking to an individual who's ready to compete on what many are calling the biggest BKFC card in history, and that all goes down on December the 2nd with BKFC 56. We have Keegan Vandermeer knuckling up and towing the line against Esteban Rodriguez, and great getting to have Keegan back on Bare Knuckle Radio. How are you doing, man? You having a solid day?
I'm doing good. Thank you for having me back on, and man, the pleasure's mine. I'm always happy to do these with you.
Yeah, it was great to hear. Definitely, likewise, mutual appreciation on my end, and just kind of curious to get some of your thoughts on kind of what I was saying in the intro there, like in as far as how it feels to be part of such a huge event.
For me personally, not only is it such a huge event for bare knuckle in the sport, Utah, it's their first bare knuckle event. It's a place that's it's pretty close to my heart because I was born and raised in Cedar City, Utah, and ever since I was a kid, I've just always dreamt of being like just a real good fighter, or just like a real good martial artist, and being able to compete in lots of places. And recently, with hearing that show was going to head to Utah, man, I had to get a piece of the action.
Yeah, I love hearing that, and I saw you had a post a few weeks ago talking about this fight. I thought one of the posts was very interesting because within the caption you were saying another 5, possibly 6 rounds of action-packed violence. Are you kind of mentally readying yourself for one of those like sudden death round, like, insane kind of fights? It almost seems like you're looking at this fight in a certain sense, yeah.
Yeah, man, I'm ready for any and everything. Shoot, man, just really even speaking on the fight itself, like, this is a super tough competitor. This is someone that, I don't underestimate anyone I come up against. So, just knowing that I'm really going to have to be in this for this stretch is very important. It's important for me mentally and emotionally.
Yeah, and so much to, discuss with this fight, but I feel like I'd be remiss if I didn't touch on, I guess, some of the more recent happenings, since we, last got to chop it up and whatnot, because I'm kind of curious about the mentality heading into this in a certain regard, because you're, still unbeaten in bare knuckle at this juncture, but, I mean, you did have that gloved boxing bout against Gustavo Trujillo, like, a bit after your last BKFC win. In fact, 1 week after, which I thought was, commendable that you did that and all. But I guess just curious to get the mindset. Is it more of a, get back in the win column sort of mindset, or is it like, I'm undefeated in bare knuckle, this is bare knuckle? I guess I'm curious on the mindset in that sense.
I think, for me personally, as an amateur, I'll just fill you in with like a little bit of background. As an amateur, I had a split decision loss in Muay Thai, and it kind of, it didn't make me gun shy. It didn't really put me in a place where I couldn't function as a fighter. I don't have, me personally, I feel like my pride and my ego play into fighting when I truly come against something that I can't really get around. And then it begins, I start trying things I wouldn't normally try, and then I get out of my element. But for me, losing and learning to lose as an amateur was very critical for me, and it was very important for me. And I took that loss, and instead of kind of like shying away from it and like not really talking about it when people would talk about it, I own it. You just got to own everything, and that's really one of our responsibilities as martial artists, not just martial artists, but also fighters. You go out there and, I really put my best out there. And you're right, that was a week after I just had a fight. So for whatever condition I was in, for whatever recovery I was able to make, mentally and emotionally, I was still chomping at the bit. And when you put the pieces of the puzzle together, I'm a cruiserweight, and I'm competing in the cruiserweight division. So eventually I want to touch gold. So hearing how well Gustavo fared in Bare Knuckle, and just kind of seeing the notoriety that comes with being able to hang with someone like that, I felt like it was a calling that wasn't going to come later. And I wanted to test, test and measure myself up against someone and see if I could really edge that out. So I don't like to speak on other people's business too much, but, you saw how well Gustavo did in BKFC. So, if I can even get to that amount or that level, for me, that's pretty ultimate. He went 4-0, 4 knockouts. So I felt like I could test myself with that. So with this fight, I don't feel like I'm trying to get back into the win column. I honestly forgot the boxing match. I've been having so much fun with what I've been doing lately, and just discovering new elements of my game. So I don't feel one way or another, really. To me, this is every fight that I go into. For me, it's do or die. So it doesn't matter. If I was on the winning end, if I had won that boxing match, I'd still go into this fight with the same mentality. So,
I love hearing that, and speaks to just how experienced you are with combat sport and how long you've been doing it for. So, that's a great mindset to have. And, I think some context for listeners, if for whatever reason they're not privy to it, in talking about Gustavo Trujillo and the Bare Knuckle specific run, this is a guy who beat...
He's a beast. You cannot discount that man. And word is bond, that guy can hit.
Yeah, the one blemish Lorenzo Hunt has, that Gustavo Trujillo individual is that lone loss for Lorenzo, so I think that speaks volumes.
Yeah, so, it's just, I don't like to do things and then try to, gauge and place myself, in one place or another, but, I went and had my go at it, and, it's, I just kind of looked at that as, okay, well, this happened, it was a calculated risk, and now it's onward and upward.
Yeah, great mentality. I love hearing that insight rather, but curious to get some insights on the training preparations, because you were kind of talking about how you're in that cruiserweight division, and your opponent coming up here, very much a cruiserweight, but did previously also fight in BKFC as a heavyweight, but it does seem like you're getting in a certain amount of heavyweight work. I saw Todd Duffee came through Genesis Training Academy and whatnot. What was that experience like?
And then also shout out to my other training partner, Alonzo Neal II. Man, sparring with those two guys is every experience that I'm having with this and getting ready for these fights, I'm always building a lot of respect for the sport. And for me, already being a big guy, for the most part, I don't have too much of a hard time. And man, those two are no joke. And that work was very well needed. It was very much needed to put me in the right place mentally and emotionally and physically.
Yeah, and maybe this is a curious question to even answer, but you seem like a guy who, even though you've been in the game for a bit now, specific to Bare Knuckle, you seem very studious and analytical about it, really trying to pick up the craft. I feel like Todd Duffee is in an interesting spot because he's facing someone in Ben Rothwell who has a pair of fights under his belt at this point. And in training preparations, you can only tell a certain amount from what someone's going to do in Bare Knuckle, from at least what I've kind of heard there. What are your thoughts on what he could, bring to the table in this debut effort against someone like Rothwell?
Shoot, man. One big, first thing, big respect to Todd Duffee, and huge thank you to Todd Duffee and his team for even working with me and letting me be a part of that, because as a fighter, I take preparation serious. So being able to be a part of that it humbled me a lot. And I would say as far as preparation, his best bet going into this is, don't fight Rothwell's fight. Don't, even though the size and probably the motion seems like it gets in the way of a lot, I'm learning that with the bigger guys, you really just got to let them get in their own way and hit what they can't move well, which is that midsection. So, I feel like, I read this thing about bare knuckle boxing back in the day, and they would talk about, size and weight mismatches were actually a really common thing. And it was actually partially what would make a lot of the money circulate around that stuff. And you had some bad dudes back then. But the main point, and you can even read this, it's basically listed on like any definition of bare knuckle boxing. The way they used to hold their hands wasn't necessarily and not just the way they held their hands, but the way they fought. It wasn't necessarily to really hit the head so much. You break these big guys down by hitting them well to the body, and you do your homework. It's going to take some shots up top, but man, everyone's off switch is the body. That's everybody's off switch. So that would be my one piece of advice is anywhere that you've got the range to hit that body and move, bang that midsection.
I mean, could that also apply to like what you would be also doing in this fight, just with your opponent having a certain, defined kind of frame? I mean, not that you're a small guy per se, but I mean, like we were saying, he previously fought it.
You're right, because that's honestly also mentally what I've been preparing for as well, because, even though he's in the cruiserweight division, this guy is clearly larger than I am. So, my focus for like visualization and really what I know and think I'm going to be up against has been, I'm punching high on the bag, I'm setting up the body shots at the end of my combos, and I'm making sure that I'm not stopping my motion. I stay moving. That's really what's in the bank for me. Usually when I know that I'm going to be outsized is, man, I got to move. I've got good angles. I've got good footwork. And I feel like for me, my boxing's real clean. I don't like to brag too much, but I think my boxing's real clean. I feel like I'm probably one of the cleaner boxers in the cruiserweight division. There's good punchers. There's good fighters. But I truly believe I've got a clean style of boxing.
Yeah, it's interesting. It seems like, I mean, like you said, you're not one to toot your own horn as much, but I was seeing you were working with Chris Camozzi before his BKFC fight in April, and he was kind of discussing on, I think it was like a Reddit forum, he was talking about you readying to, fight Gustavo, and he's like, oh, this will be a really good fight. Keegan is a very, very good boxer, Camozzi was saying. So it seems like your, I guess, training partners and whatnot are the ones that maybe do the talking about your fighting ability more so.
Yeah, and I try to. That's my aim. That's always been my aim. That's just kind of the kind of person I am. I try to let my work do the talking. Try to let my hands do the talking. I just feel like as long as I stick to that kind of style, that wherever I'm at and wherever I'm supposed to be is where I'm gonna end up. I don't want to. I like fighting. I like challenging myself, but there's certain limits you should test, and there's certain limits you should respect until you have the ability to test them. So for me right now, it's just about just get as clean and sharp as I possibly can, and wherever that lands me is where I'm supposed to be.
Yeah, and it seems like you would be more inclined to, like, I guess, lift someone else up. I mean, when we were talking last, it seemed like we were getting into, like, the fact that you've steadily cornered a lot of, like, young, amateur, gloved boxers through fighter's chance and different things like that. So it would seem like you'd be more, I guess, inclined to like lift someone else up and do it in that kind of sense, as opposed to like bigging yourself up, if that makes sense.
Yeah, and for anyone listening, I just want to say that, no matter what approach you take, if you're ever in a situation like I'm in, just remember that every dog has its day. So, for me, my lifestyle is more about just staying prepared and staying ready as I possibly can, because I've had opportunities come to me and me not be necessarily as prepared as I wanted to be. And I've had to pass opportunities up because I wasn't doing, the regular.
Yeah, I mean, I think that speaks to just like, learning and just the general journey. So it seems like that was like a pivotal moment for you. Like, it seems like you'd be maybe ready to, I guess, like especially seize this moment now and stuff like that, like be more present. Yeah, no, love to hear that, man. That's an awesome place to be for sure. But I guess one of the last things I wanted to touch on, because I mean, very impressive in BKFC so far with a pair of finishes, and I mean, both of your fights cumulatively not even making up one full round in bare knuckle fighting championships. Are we looking at 3-0 with 3 first round finishes at BKFC 56, or is it just more like adapting to what happens and see how the fight plays out kind of thing?
This is probably going to be adapting to what's happening and see how the fight plays out, just because just kind of on that same token, I try not to say anything's for sure. Same as before, just keep an open mind, and be ready for anything and just don't blink. Because, these fights, with the circumstances of how these are set up, tables can turn at any time. So it's just my job to go out there and be sharp until it's done. And if it's done before 5 rounds, then cool. But if it goes to 5 rounds, then I'm planning on being sharp all 5 rounds and looking like it's the first round every round.
Yeah, I was going to say, very exciting fight, and talking to you, definitely getting the excitement going more. It seems like both you are really locked in for this fight, and just looks very entertaining on paper and whatnot. But you've been great with your time, man. Always fun getting to talk to you. I feel like you have a great mind for the game, but just in being mindful of your time and whatnot, curious if maybe there's like a final parting thought that you'd want to add as we're sort of wrapping up, Keegan.
My final parting thought would really just be, this is a pretty big event. There are a lot of great fights out there, and there are a lot of great fighters on this card. This is specifically my opportunity to place myself on par as far as pedigree and in class. This is my opportunity to put myself on par with the people on the card, as well as the fighters that would be showing up to watch. This is, in a sense, this is supposed to be my coming out party. So I'm locked in. And I'm ready for whatever.
Yeah, I mean, it definitely comes across, and a very interesting sort of, placement on the event and everything, because I feel like that's a classic, like, promoter, I guess, methodology that I've seen in the last, like, even 10 plus years, where it's like they'll take like a very exciting, action heavy kind of fight and have that as like that featured prelim to kind of get people saying, damn, I need to buy this pay-per-view, like I need to see what's going on. So yeah, kind of an interesting spot.
I know there's a lot of talent out there, but shoot, man, just keep an extra eye on what I got going on. I plan on stealing the show.
Yeah, I was going to say the fact that this is, as stacked of an event as it is, and that this could very well be the fight of the night. I mean, anyone that I think follows the circuit would attest to that. But, really appreciate you coming on and giving great insights on Bare Knuckle Radio. Really stoked to see this Esteban Rodriguez fight, man, December 2nd, getting closer and closer, and should be a huge event with BKFC 56. And yeah, definitely stoked to check things out. But until then, man, you have a good rest of your day, and thank you for the time.
Thank you very much. I appreciate you.
This episode of Bouts Talking Bouts is brought to you by Bare Knuckle Betting Shark. Winning parlays, if you're looking for them in BKFC, you got to be checking out BK Bet Shark. Here's the thing, $50 buys, you get a personalized bet slip. It's based on your own budget. You can be flexible. It is what works for you. And this guy's got the receipts. You can check out all the winning tickets. You can peep them, and you can do so at Bare Knuckle Betting Shark. Check him out on Instagram and get with it. Got them personalized betting slips going on, $50 buys.